big boroughs as Prague 10, 6, 5, 4, but to organize the local coordinators to engage people who are living in some little territory, who are going to the pub with locals who can transfer the genius idea of Mayor of Prague X to local citizens, and they can get the feedback. Because without that, you are just repeating the same mistake as being Mayor of Prague and not understanding problems of our city. You can make the same on Prague 10 level, Prague 5, 6, and so on. I was wondering what's happening on Puškino náměstí. Thanks for the explanation. We are neighbors, and I was shocked in the morning when I saw the scraper in Puškino náměstí. I was well, definitely will be open before 10th, before the election. And I was growing there, and I've made roots there. I was really shocked, because when Prague 6 wanted to build underground parking, which would be a very reasonable idea to cover all the cars below the surface and have a nice playground, there were some mothers against, and now some mothers are reducing the green area for some playground. I don't understand things. I'm getting too old, probably.
Mr. Hudeček, what's your recipe for success when it comes to engagement of people?
I try to answer your question, because I asked myself many times about the problem with discussion and with dialogue, because I think the dialogue is the beginning of all processes in a city and must be the first, the main process. And I think it's in a triangle. One vertex is politicians, the second one is experts, and the third one is citizens and companies. And we made a special institution, a sounding board, which have meeting every 2 months, and it's a board of 60 people, experts like sociologists, economists, geographers, theologians also, directors of some companies, and also members of some NGOs, and our decision is discussed with this board. Then, on the other hand, there are citizens and companies, and we started a lot of projects like Prague for People. I'm usually coming to some normal place where we organize a special meeting for local people about the local topics. Also, you can send an online interpellation to every member of council. And during this dialogue, and I think this dialogue is necessary, because even though you are so experienced, so educated, for example, I am a regional geographer, and my education is to be a serviceman of city. This is my education from Charles University. But in 1 or 2 years in a duty, I did a lot of things from my university, a lot of knowledge. I put in practice a lot of knowledge, but then I need some new information from inhabitants, from companies. And of course, the connection between the third line of the triangle between companies and citizens and experts it's normal. It's a common discussion. So this works today. What more for the next period? I was inspired in New York, because they divided Manhattan into eight parts. And the mayor of New York are giving money to every part, to some compilation of people, companies, NGOs, they call it groups. And the main idea is, if you are an inhabitant of some local place, if you are a company with some shop here, with some office, you are really able to do with something, with this local for example, public spaces, and you want to do something with the public spaces more than the municipal house in the center, somewhere in the lower Manhattan. And this is my goal for next period, because nowadays there is not legislation for making these groups in Prague. It's not NGOs. It's a compilation of a lot of different kind of people, NGOs, companies. Because, for example, owners of properties are happy that the public spaces in front of their house is nice, because logically increase the price for flats, for the whole house, etc. The owners of shops are happy because nice public spaces in front of their shop means that different people usually come to your shop and buy some things, etc. And I think this concept, which started in New York in the last 5, 6, 7 years, I think it's a perfect concept for implementing in Prague. So I think this is the next step.
Thank you. Another question here?
I have two questions. The first question goes on the subject of the fast-speed train from Prague Airport. Heathrow has 72 million passengers a year, and the Heathrow Express doesn't make a profit. So how would 10 million passengers from Prague Airport be viable by building a high-speed train? The second question, I was the initiator of the Wing Line appeal, and the British community gave a lion to the Czech Republic in honor of the 2,500 Czech and Slovaks who fought the Royal Air Force in the Second World War. I was wondering, what is your stance on this? Because at the moment, we are still opposed by certain officials at the City Hall.
Thank you very much indeed. We're under a lot of pressure at the moment because almost an hour has passed, and we've covered some important things, but there's still quite a lot ahead. So I'll ask you to, if possible, give us short answers. Maybe your first question, I'll try to extend it, if you will. In your eyes, what would be the best solution for airport to downtown core transportation? Is it subway? Is it a train? We've heard that in Britain, or in London in particular, the experience is not rosy, if you will. What is it? I would dare to say that current situation is not perfect, far from it. Mr. Kassel.
Okay, 25 years of an effort to bring the, let's say, light rail or high-speed train. It's not any speed train. It's not a Hokkaido type of train, but just the rail connection between the airport and the center of Prague failed. So we are coming with monorail, which is the 1/3 of the cost of very detailed project of that renovation of Bušťaracká dráha, of the railroad on the way to Kladno, making a bypass to the airport. You were asking for the feasibility of the project. I believe that being this as a part for 7 billion crowns instead of 21, what the train would cost. So if you take into consideration all the passengers on the way, if you combine the express lines from airport Davidska or Hračanská metro Davidska Nádraží, or if you just make a stop train for local citizens, and if you continue to Kladno, which is the key issue, then you can make it easily feasible.
So a train. Ms. Krnáčová?
No train, monorail.
Monorail. So, to be precise.
Don't be afraid of new technologies. It's South Korean technology.
My bad.
Well, I'm not an expert in transportation, but my expert says that there is no perfect solution.
And that's Siri, or who's your expert?
Excuse me?
Is it Siri? Do you have, yeah?
No, he was writing to me today or yesterday evening, and there are 6 or 7 variations and possibilities. In the end,
what would you go for? Or are you happy with the current setup?
Oh, really not.
Really not. Perfect.
No.
So it's up for discussion.
Maybe my choice would be a subway, but actually we need a calculation. We need a calculation because there are a lot of problems. Okay, this is my solution, not yours. So don't comment it. And
we have a real power woman on this panel, which is good.
Well, no, I honestly don't know at the moment.
Fair enough. I like that. I like that answer. I really do. Mr. Passer.
Our transport committee had its own analysis, and we have a little different result than Mr. Kassel has. So we prefer a train connection, and as a second option, which I think and believe in the future will definitely be, is a subway. But I think that the train will be much faster now.
Mr. Štěpánek.
Look, Prague has that advantage that it's been one of the first cities that built a railroad network, and it didn't close it down. It didn't close it down in the 50s, in the 70s. It didn't significantly privatize it. Those of you who are from England, you know all the troubles with it. So we have a healthy railroad system. So the obvious choice for the airport is railroad because it goes by there and it's an old line. But the tragedy of that approach was that it was speed train, light rail, monorail, that is something else, something much more expensive and not integrated into the system. So the train to the airport is not a train to the airports. It's train to Kladno, to the largest suburb of Prague, that has 75,000 inhabitants just in the city and 100,000 in the immediate perimeter, and it's growing. It's the second fastest growing region next to Prague and the largest suburb. So the solution is in the train line to Kladno with stop at the airport. And I believe that that's gonna be the solution, and the builder of it is not going to be the city, but the Správa železniční dopravní cesty.
Tube system is so expensive. You can't imagine the price of tube system. It's unbelievable. The new line of metro D, I mean the whole line from Náměstí Míru to Depot Písnice will cost 60 billion crowns. It's twice more than Blanka. So if someone wants to build a tube line from, I don't know when, depends, to Ruzyně Airport, it's a nonsense. You cannot do this with money of city. Maybe you can build with money of state.
Second question,
yeah.
Regarding the monument.
And about the Winged Lion, yeah, I think Klarov is a perfect place for all these memorials because it's a building ground. So in the future they will stay something. So it's really complicated situations now because the whole place there. I was joking a little bit, yeah, you know, but the whole place in Klarov is a building ground. It wasn't dedicated for any memorial. The first one was the putting. The first one I don't know what is it. The first one, ten první. Yeah, and nowadays there is a second one, and the whole ground is a construction field. So I don't really understand how it's possible to build these memorials there. But in other hand, of course, maybe it's possible that construction of some building will be there in 20 years or 30 years. Of course, it's possible. But nowadays, it's a construction field.
Sure.
Just one. You were asking for feasibility of the connection, not about which means of transport we would use it. So the EU funding is not finding feasible the train to the airport. So my answer with monorail, which is 1/3 of the train, which has no link to any other railroad system, so it's a completely independent system, is 1/3 of the cost. So please think smart.
I'll ask you all 3 questions. Question number 1, that is the ring road. Is it a priority for you? And you know, what is the solution to current situation? Because we seem to be in a sort of a deadlock. Mr. Štěpánek, you have the microphone.
We know very well the situation in that particular organization that builds it, that went through like 4 ministers and 4 directors, and all of them talked about corruption. So there are significant delays in that project. And what's much more problematic, that it has never been prepared in several different possibilities. And what we propose here, and so it went through places that were legally or other ways impossible, and the courts repeatedly awarded those mayors denial of that project. So what we really need to do with this ring road is to return to those several possibilities and not to dwell on an adapted project from the 30s, 50s, 70s.